Caleb with DemX Media. I told you that I was starting this series called Equity for the State about just ensuring we have a level playing field, for everyone in our state, particularly women of color, and because for so long we've ignored those voices. I just want to, introduce yourself, give a little background, and what led you to run this stuff.
I'm Luisa Wakeman, running for Senate District 6. I was born in Spain under the Franco dictatorship, and my family is originally from Holland. My grandparents were in the Dutch resistance during World War II, and I grew up knowing that democracy can be fragile and leaders are not necessarily benevolent. I met my representative at the Capitol, and she was flippant about guns on campus legislation. She was flippant about the protection of our children and the safety of everyone. And so I ran against her in 2018, came 792 votes away from flipping the seat, barely flipped it. In 2020, ran again, came even closer, but it was an odd election year, and we did the work to make sure that we engaged voters, registered people to vote, reached people in areas that a lot of campaigns had never reached out to before, and tried to engage the community with knowledge and information about voting, not just for in our campaign, but for people up and down, the Democrats up and down the ballot. When I was districted out of that seat, I knew that I was going to stay involved and make sure that we continue moving forward. We have so much on the line. And when Michelle Au stepped back from her state Senate seat, it left the state Senate with 15 women out of 56 seats. And with her and Dr. Jackson leaving, there is not a single healthcare professional or person with a science background in the state Senate Democratic Caucus. We're at a precarious time. I was up till late at night, like many women all across the country were, when we heard the news of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's not overturned yet, but it's on the precipice, and we need to unite, we need to fight, and we need to be out there and do everything that we can. One of the most basic things that we can do is vote. That's one of the more basic things, but super powerful and super important. One gentleman, I knocked on his door, and he peeked out from behind the door, and we started talking about the issues, and he works night shift, so he has tough hours, and it's hard to get to the ballot, to the voting locations during the voting hours. And so he was really excited about the ballot drop boxes last election. But we started talking and got so involved that he was just standing in his doorway and in his underwear. But it was so important, the issues, that he was so passionate about making sure that people understand why these laws that were passed affect everyday people like him. And he said, I will find a way to vote, but it makes it really difficult. It makes it difficult for people who have kids, for people who have 2 or 3 jobs, because that's what it takes to make ends meet sometimes. It is just atrocious. I mean, when you see these laws passed and you don't understand the stories, it's infuriating. We can do better. One of the things that we can do is allowing same-day voter registration. So when Republican leaders try to roll people off the ballots, off the voting rolls just before an election, like a gentleman that we spoke to this weekend, he had moved and he hadn't registered to vote in his new location yet. And if we had same-day voter registration, he could have gone to register to vote, and he would be eligible to vote for this election. But as it stands, it makes it very complicated, very difficult, and unfortunately, a lot of people give up. It's not because they don't want to vote. It's not because they don't want to be involved. It's because every single barrier is...
Well, it feels like every cycle now. It feels like every cycle now. Well, with that in mind, I know you know the importance of voting more than anyone. What would you say representation matters, and does voting matter? Like, does it? Like,
voting absolutely matters. We've seen how important it is to voters. We have each other, and there are a lot of us. We have the power to make a difference. We have the power to vote. We have the power to organize. We have the power to get together and make sure that we reverse some of these bad decisions. And one of the big things is getting Stacey Abrams into the governor's mansion. Once she's elected, she has the veto power. That changes the whole dynamic of what happens in the legislature when some of these atrocious things can be vetoed.
And I also think about, because we were talking about the court, she will be elevating to our even state Supreme Court. Like, every single one of them except one was appointed by a Republican. So and those seats are important. They all play a factor in our democracy.
Huge, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I know, what would you say you want to achieve by the end of your first term as senator for Georgia 6 to create more equity for the district and I guess Georgia as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Medicaid expansion, without a doubt, and have it on Governor Abrams' desk to sign into law would be fantastic, and I'll definitely work hard for that. Protecting our public schools. Our teachers have stepped up to the plate these past years, and rather than give them the resources that they need, the legislators have made their jobs more difficult and challenging.
And they slashed their funding.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, and then we need to make sure that we protect the right to vote and access to the ballot box. While same-day voter registration, countywide voting during on election day are some ways that we can alleviate some of the challenges. But there are a lot of things that we can do, a lot of things that we need to reverse, and repealing HB 481, which is the abortion ban, is imperative right now. It is so important. Criminalizing women and nurses and doctors and people who love them is a really falling point of our democracy.
I mean,
it's important, and the only reason is political games. There is no reason for it not to be expanded. It goes back to the Affordable Care Act that was passed by Obama that was very popular, and the Republicans ran on repeal and replace. They had nothing to replace it with. Governor Kemp and his allies or cronies or whatever wanted to, were counting on the replacement. They never had a replacement. It's just political gamemanship. And meanwhile, people are suffering.
And they're dying. So how can people follow the campaign?
Follow me at Elect Luisa, ElectLuisa, and my website is electluisa.com. Would love to earn your vote, would love to earn your support. We're in this together. We have so much on the line, but together we are going to be able to push forward. So,
Luisa Wakeman for Georgia State Senate, District 6. The primary is May 24th. This is Caleb with DemX Media, Equity for the State.